All right, this week we put the railings and the porch post bases onto the porch, and we painted the foundation with my really cool textured paint that I've been playing with a lot lately. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this is to do. Alright, I've got you looking down at the porch floor, and I've done a little bit of prep work, but I'm going to talk you through that. What we're going to do is we're going to attach our porch railings that we built. And unfortunately I painted off camera last week because I lost that piece of footage and I didn't even realize it. So I have drawn a line, and what I did, these railings want to sit in 1/8 of an inch from the side of the porch. And I want to do that. By the way, I've got a light up here. I'm hoping this helps because it was really dark in here this morning. So I've drawn a line. All I did was I used one of my quilting rulers because it's got a good 1/8 inch mark. If you don't have a ruler like this, you can mark 1/8 inch with a regular ruler, draw a line. If you've got a piece of 1/8 inch thick wood or something that's 1/8 inch thick, line it up with the edge of the porch and draw a line. Now I also want my railings to sit up off the porch floor because I'm going to run a different porch. I don't want them sitting against it. And I'm also going to be doing a different treatment on the porch floor than we do on the foundation today. So I want the little bit of space to do that. Now what the instructions say to you do is just set your railing on top of a stack of 2 shingles. Well, that was fine, except when I tried it, it was kind of not very stable. So I wanted to do something to make it a little more stable so it will sit better. And I have this package of giant craft sticks from Walmart. I think these were like $8 or so for the package. I don't remember for sure, but they're in the craft section at Walmart. They're awesome. They are gigantic, ginormous, I think would be a good term for them. They are, how to say how big they are? They are 10 inches long. So they're good, they're a good size. So I already did the one on the other end. I'm going to actually move you down to the floor so you're looking at this, but I'm going to talk you through what I'm going to do first, then move you and show you what I'm going to do. These are about the same thickness as 2 shingles. So if I set this on top of there, it gives it a good stable base to sit on, and I can see my line on the floor to line it up straight. So let me move you and then we'll glue this on. Alright, I've got you looking down at the porch floor, and I've done a little bit of prep work, but I'm going to talk you through that. What we're going to do is we're going to attach our porch railings that we built. And unfortunately I painted off camera last week because I lost that piece of footage and I didn't even realize it. So I have drawn a line, and what I did, these railings want to sit in 1/8 of an inch from the side of the porch. And I want to do that. By the way, I've got a light up here. I'm hoping this helps because it was really dark in here this morning. So I've drawn a line. All I did was I used one of my quilting rulers because it's got a good 1/8 inch mark. If you don't have a ruler like this, you can mark 1/8 inch with a regular ruler, draw a line. If you've got a piece of 1/8 inch thick wood or something that's 1/8 inch thick, line it up with the edge of the porch and draw a line. Now I also want my railings to sit up off the porch floor because I'm going to run a different porch. I don't want them sitting against it. And I'm also going to be doing a different treatment on the porch floor than we do on the foundation today. So I want the little bit of space to do that. Now what the instructions say to you do is just set your railing on top of a stack of 2 shingles. Well, that was fine, except when I tried it, it was kind of not very stable. So I wanted to do something to make it a little more stable so it will sit better. And I have this package of giant craft sticks from Walmart. I think these were like $8 or so for the package. I don't remember for sure, but they're in the craft section at Walmart. They're awesome. They are gigantic, ginormous, I think would be a good term for them. They are, how to say how big they are? They are 10 inches long. So they're good, they're a good size. So I already did the one on the other end. I'm going to actually move you down to the floor so you're looking at this, but I'm going to talk you through what I'm going to do first, then move you and show you what I'm going to do. These are about the same thickness as 2 shingles. So if I set this on top of there, it gives it a good stable base to sit on, and I can see my line on the floor to line it up straight. So let me move you and then we'll glue this on. All right, I've moved you down here so that you can see what I'm doing, and I've done a dry fit of this. I know, see, I had it dry fit. This way it works the best. So I have my glues here, I have my super glue gel, and I have my Gorilla Wood glue. And I'm working around the camera, so that's adding a little extra dimension of difficulty to this. Now I am going to vary slightly on what the directions say, because I'm not using the exact same product they are to finish my porch with. So I'm going to line this up, and this is much easier when you're not trying to work around a camera. Make sure that you're straight up and down, which, oops, sorry, I think I just kicked you. I'm going to use this to make sure I am, oops, sitting straight. Yep, straight. I'm going to hold it up there until the super glue, oops, a little bit off from my line. There we go. And I'm just going to hold this here until the super glue takes hold. And then once that's set up, I'll show you the next step I'm going to do. All right, my glue is set up enough now that I can work around this and not have to worry about it, you know, coming off the side of the house. So I've got my porch base thingy here. And it's not going to fit perfectly, but it will be good enough. We'll fill in with our paint. But before we apply it, we're going to paint our special treatment stuff on some of these areas. Now this is one of the places I'm varying from what the directions say. They say to just put some glue on the ends of this and set it up and mark it that way. I'm doing it this way. I'm using a pencil. I want a better mark because we don't want to put our treatment, our special paint, on these areas where that's going to glue on. We leave those bare, and then I'm going to touch up around it with my paint mixture. I'm going to basically just, well, let's see, I can move this now and we can do the front railing, but we're not going to glue it in place today. All right, I'm sorry you can't see the whole width of the house, but I've got both of these pieces just set in place. I've got my steps. Now, I haven't glued this together yet because I'm going to treat the porch floor and this top of the step differently than I treat the foundation and this part of the step. But we're going to set them in place because we need to kind of mark where everything goes, because I'll explain that part in a moment. But we're going to put this in place, and we're just going to hold it right now. And I'm going to get this, I'm going to put a couple of these in so that it can be held up where it needs to be. And once again, I am going to use my pencil and draw around the ends. So I can probably do this one. So I'm just going to go in, I'm going to just make a mark. There. Now I know where that's going to go. I'm also going to make a mark here. and here. Actually, that one, these I'm going to do differently than what they do. So I'm not going to worry about that yet. So I'm going to make sure these both porch post bases are marked, and then in a little bit I'll come, but immediately for you I'll come back, we'll mix up our foundation treatment, and we'll start coating the foundation and that chimney that I need to put together. So let's put the chimney together and then we'll do that. Alright, so these are the 3 parts to the chimney, and since I want to coat the chimney in the same stuff that I'm coating the foundation in, I'm going to put this together now so that I can prime it with the gray. You guys are really close. Let's get you backed up. So I can paint it with the gray color that's going on the under that, and then I can, when I do the foundation, I can do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a pencil line corner to corner. And this will help me. I'm actually going to do this, the big one goes kind of in the middle. I'll show you how this all goes together. Once again, I need my head right over the top, and I have a camera there. Okay, now this one, I want to do that on both sides. By having this over just a little bit, my pencil can go from point to point. And in case you're wondering, this thing I'm using to draw my line against, this is just a gigantic, or as they call them on the package, giant craft stick. I love these things, they're so handy. All right, so that has on both sides. This just needs it on the bottom. Well, oh, it won't need it at all, just this one will. Now what happens is, we put this one here, and this one on top. And that's our chimney. So, let's get some glue. Let's do this one first, I think. Put glue on the inside, kind of not too close to the edge. I want the glue to have room to squish around and not make a mess. But let's see if I can get this under the camera. Now all I have to do is line up the points of the wood with those lines. When everything is lined up, I know that I have it centered. And I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm actually going to do the same thing, but I'll come back and show you the gluing the next step. This just needs to set up for enough that it won't squish around when I try to work with it. Alright, this is nowhere near dry, but it's dry enough that I can glue the chimney itself on. So again, put a little glue in there, wipe the glue off with my finger onto the table, and again, just line up, kind of, yep, that's, is it going to the edge? Yeah. Now, getting those lined up with those lines as best I can. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to put a coat of that same dark gray that I base coated the foundation and the porch with. And then next time you see this is when we coat the foundation and this with our special paint. All right, now we're going to mix up the paint that I'm going to use to do the foundation, the bottom of the front porch step, the chimney, the porch post bases. I think that's the only place I'm going to use it, but I'm not sure. So I've got a jar. I'm going to put this in this jar with a nice tight lid. I got jam in this, in case you're wondering. And the first thing I'm going to do, I decided that this gray paint that I used as the base coat was too dark. So I want to lighten it up. So the first thing I'm going to do is dump, this is pretty much a whole jar. And I'm going to mix up the whole jar. And I'm just going to let this sit here and all of it dump in here. So this will take me probably a couple of minutes to get this, because I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just going to set probably sticks here. Let's see if this will work. That work? kind of. Yeah, I think that'll work. I'm going to leave this here to drain for probably the next several minutes so I get as much paint out of there as I can. When that's done, I'll be back and we will start lightening this up. All right, now this is all drained in here, so I'm going to start adding just some white craft paint because I want to make it lighter. It's just too dark. And what I'm going to do, we're going to stir this in. That's always so pretty when you stir paint together like that. I need a thicker something. I guess I'll use one of these. That's not mixing. Okay, that's not, I think it needs a little more white. What I'm going to do, I'm going to mix this together, put some on this craft stick, and let this dry, which it won't take too long. This is craft paint after all. It doesn't take a long time to dry. That's looking better. I can always add more dark to it if I get it too light. Let's go a little bit more, because I want to adjust the color before I add my thickener to this. All right, that looks much better. So what I'm going to do, for you guys it'll just be a momentary break, but for me it'll be probably 20 minutes to an hour. I'm going to actually paint it on, and I'm going to let this dry. That way I'll know what the dried color looks like, because acrylic paint dries darker than it is wet. So I want to make sure I've got this lightened to the color I want it before I move any further. So I'm going to wash my brush, let this dry, and then I'll be back. Alright, I came up with a color I like. We're going to use this version. This is where we left off the video. I added white twice more. I like this one better. It could maybe go a little lighter even, but it will be fine. So now we are going to thicken our paint and make it a texture. And to do that, we're going to use baking soda. Yes, I bought the humongous, ginormous package of baking soda at Walmart the other day. Because I use this for lots of stuff. And we are just going to, I'm going to kind of note where this is. We're going to add a lot. We're going to add it a little bit at a time. Just going to add it by spoonful until I get the amount I want. And I want to go pretty close. If I can, I would like to go pretty close to equal parts. We'll see how it works. Goodness, I've got baking soda all over everything. And just mix it until, this is why I'm doing a little at a time, because you don't want big lumps. Whoops, I'm spilling all over the table. Good thing it's just baking soda. So I'm going to continue adding until I get this to the consistency I want. So that was, I think, 3 spoonfuls. I'll let you know how many total I have by the time I'm done, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, this is what I was looking for, and I added 3 more spoonfuls, just about the size that you saw me do earlier. This is what we're looking for, thick. I actually use the same concoction, just a side note, non-mini related. This looks fantastic painted on glass. I took some Dollar Tree vases and glass candlesticks, coated them with some paint mixed with baking soda like this. They look like stone, and they are so cool looking. So just if you're looking for some home decor items that aren't mini related, that's an idea for you. So here are our sides. Now we're only going to paint this part, this side, and we're going to skip those parts where we did the pencil mark for our railing, and we will blend it better once it's put up. Oh, by the way, I've put nonstick parchment paper. You get, this is like you buy to put on cookie sheets and stuff. That way if I spill, my stuff won't stick to it. Now, you can use your good paintbrushes, but you are going to have to wash your paintbrush off immediately when you're done. This is not a product you can wrap up and leave in your brush, okay? If you ever want to use that brush again, because this stuff turns rock hard. That's why it's in a jar with a lid. So we're going to work up to that. But I love how this looks when it dries. And I've been really excited. I knew I was going to do this technique on our concrete parts. And it's okay, I'm not going to go straight up to it. I'm just doing the sides that are going to go against the railings so that I can get it done. I don't want to put where they're going to glue, because that will take up too much, might take up too much space. But we'll get them glued together, get this glued in place, and then I'll take a fine brush like this, and I'll work a little more up right to the railings. Let's see, it looks like that's right there. And this is the one that has two. But you can see what neat texture this has. I love it. It's become one of my favorite paint techniques lately. This way. And that's why we just needed the estimate of where those pieces were. We don't need it exact. And this should fill in where those pieces of wood, like this one didn't quite match up perfectly, but a coat or two of this paint and no one will ever notice that I didn't get those lined up right. So I'm leaving the camera on because I want you to see which parts I'm painting with this. Feel free to fast forward if you are totally bored with this, but it shouldn't take me too long. Now, places you don't want it to get in here or up here. If it does, wipe it off, because you don't want this to interfere with your glue areas. And those are areas that have to fit tight against stuff. And I am not going to do the foundation yet, because I'm actually, I don't think the directions on the dollhouse call for this, but I want to glue these three pieces onto the dollhouse before I paint the foundation. That will save me a step later, because then I think they paint the foundation and then glue it on. I'm not sure. I don't remember for sure. But I know I want to get this on there and then paint the foundation, because I want to blend the foundation against this. Oh, and by the way, I have a cleaning cloth with water here and a dry one in case I get this all over my fingers. Now we're going to make a stone chimney. And again, we don't want to paint, the side on this we don't want to paint is that one that's going to go against the roof. Brush, I mean, it matters a little, brush strokes. We can always put a second coat on if we need to. I think I've got enough here to second coat everything and probably do a lot more. Right now I'm going to do everything except the part we're not going to paint and this, because I want to stand this up. If you do, whoops, I'm off camera. If you do get this paint where you don't want it, like on the surfaces where you're going to glue and you don't notice it, you can use a knife to pop those pieces off and then sand it smooth. One more edge on this guy, and then I'm going to leave it. And then I'm going to go clean my paintbrush. Off camera, when this gets dry, I will do the top edge of this chimney. And then when everything's dry, we'll assemble our porch the rest of the way. And when that glue is dry, then we'll be able to paint the foundation. So I will go clean my paintbrush, and I'll talk to you when this is dry. All right, the glue on the rails has dried, and the paint on the bases have dried. And I also remembered last minute I needed to paint the front and sides of the step, because we're gonna need that too. This, by the way, does not get glued on until much later in the build, but we need it for sizing. So I am going to reach in front of the camera. I'm going to try my best to not trip on the tripod as I move around the table. So hopefully we won't do that. I'm going to put glue on the ends of this rail, both the wood glue and a little bit of super glue so that it will stay put until it dries. And now one thing we need to do, we need to line that up with the little holes in the paint. It doesn't quite line up, so I will figure out some kind of fill for that later, I think. All right, that's lined up, and that's fine. Oh, the other thing we need to do, wait a minute, I almost forgot something really important here, because this needs to glue on also. Doesn't quite reach there, so I'm going to have to figure out something to fill the gap there. We will figure that out before we go too much further. Okay, that's all straight. Actually stand this up like this because I need it out of my way. Now I need to walk around the camera without tripping on it. I need to move you. Whoops, tripped on the camera. Move you so that you can see this end. And this one fits a little bit better. Still not as tight as I would like, but we will do some fill. And this one ended up a little bit crooked. Hopefully it won't look too bad when it's all done. I actually bumped that when it was about 3/4 of the way dry and pulled a chunk of my siding off. So I was not happy about that. And I'm putting glue, putting glue on these edges. Because I want to have this attached before I glue the rest. I don't remember if I said that earlier or not. Because it will make that bond a lot stronger if this is glued on and then painted over where the two come together. Now I need to really, okay, make sure this is square. I'm making sure that gap is square there where the post meets the side of the foundation. Now this is the piece that's going to go on top underneath the rafters. And this needs to sit here and make sure that these post bases are all lined up. Now I need to walk around the camera again, hopefully without tripping on you this time. And now, oops, I managed to do it again. Sorry about that. I need to put, I was going to put this one like this. and this like this, because now this railing needs to go here, and this needs to go here. We're not perfect. We can fill in some of that, and then I'll cover it with the textured paint. So this one I'm not going to put super glue on because I'm going to actually move it slightly to get it attached. The super glue is just temporary. It's just to hold things until this wood glue dries. The wood glue is making our bond. Make sure this is going to fit also. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Now, I'm putting glue on the ends of my railing. And it's kind of late in the afternoon, so I'm going to leave, after I get done here, I'm going to leave this until tomorrow. But by having both glues on here, I shouldn't have to clamp anything. Oops, come on. Come on. Stand up on the line. Line up. There we go. That's where I want you. All right. That looks pretty good. I'm going to turn the camera off because I need to stand right where the camera's at in order to work on this. When this glue dries in the morning, we will take a look at it and we will get the paint on the foundation. All right, so let's move all this junk out of the way. Let's move all this and see how this looks, because we don't need this right now. We don't need this step. I did put the step in there, make sure everything was straight. This looks great. There's a few gaps in a couple of places, mainly on the sides, and I will show you those as we get around. But right now, I'm going to grab my paint concoction and my brush and start painting. And now I need to stay, I don't know if you guys can see, let's see if I can switch it just a little bit. Right here is where the step is going to go. This is where the step, and I've got a second line where the tread for the step is going to go. I want to keep my textured paint above there. I can always come in later and fill in if I miss any gaps. Same with around where these are, I can fill in with a small brush. So I'm going to start painting, and I'm going to paint the back sides of the post bases all around these where I didn't paint already, and then this area above the step, on the sides, and all the way around. There will be pictures. I'll put photos in the blog post of what I've done. And right now I'm going to see there's a couple of gaps around these. I think this paint will fill it in. If not, we'll address that in the next clip. So I will talk to you in a little bit. All right, I pulled away all of my popsicle sticks and everything, and this looks great. It's nice and solid this morning. I do have a couple of gaps, a couple of spots where the pillars and the pillar bases, post bases, or whatever they're called, and the railing meet. There's a couple of gaps. One of which I stuck a piece of little tiny piece of wood into, and I'm going to try and disguise it. And then there's a couple of gaps where the post bases are glued to the foundation. Initially, I'm going to see if my paint concoction will cover those spots. If not, then we'll address that. So, my first thing I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to start painting. Now, I have some lines here. This is where the front step and then the front step tread are going to fit. We don't want paint behind there. And in fact, I'm going to go almost to that line, but not quite. And then I can always come back after the porch step is on and fill it in. Also, this rim around the porch doesn't need to be done because, as I recall, there is a trim strip that goes there, and if not, anyway, the top of the porch floor is going to be a different treatment. I've decided last minute, so that would wrap around to there. So let's start painting. I won't bore you with much of this, but let's see, it goes on really well. We do want to keep it off of these areas, the top, because we have things to glue there. Oh, and underneath, I again have put parchment paper under because I thought about raising the whole house up to paint it, but then I realized that the reason that wouldn't work is if anything ran down underneath the foundation to the bottom side, that could be a problem because that might make it not sit right. So this way it will be level and it won't stick to the parchment. If there's any sticking out, I can always trim that. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and get the camera set in a different angle later when I fill in around the railings. So for now, I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to work around the porch, get as much done as I can off camera, and then I'll be back. All right, I've gone all the way around the foundation with the paint. It looks pretty good. I have a couple of spots that need to be filled, like right here. It's quite a slot. I don't like that. So I've got let's see if I can get this in the camera. A really awkward angle to film here. This is the spackle you get at Dollar Tree. Since I don't have any caulking right now, I'm going to use this. I'm just going to run it in that crack. Whoops. As best I can. I may have to turn the camera off and get it in a little better. But this won't even have to be super smooth because the paint is not super smooth on this. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go around and check all of those spots, make sure they're all filled. And then when that's done, we'll come back and I'll show you how to paint around the railings. All right, I'm hoping that angle is going to work for you. This stuff is all dry now. So I'm going to do some painting around those areas, and then I'm going to top coat over the where I put the spackle at the bottom. You see, you can get in there, and here is where I didn't paint it all before. But you just work in there with a brush. It doesn't matter if I get a little here. If there's a lump, I can sand it off. And but there we go. Get my other brush. Paint over this. And then that's going to all blend in and be wonderful. So I am going to continue doing some touch-ups to my paint. And when that's dry, I will come back and I'll show you how it looks. All right, I was really hoping we'd get a little further on the porch today, like getting the posts on and the beam across the top, but I was reviewing the video and it's getting pretty long, so I think I'm going to call it quits for this week here. Next week we'll move on and see what comes then, but I hope you enjoyed today. I did. I love how the foundation's turning out. I love that textured paint. It looks so cool. I hope the camera picked that up and that you saw how cool it is. Be sure and check the blog post. I'm going to try and take a lot of photos and put over there. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so that you see when the next video in the series and all my other videos come up. If you hit the like button, make a comment. That would really help my channel out a lot. I'd really like to grow this channel, get a boost, and get this channel over the 20,000 mark really, really quick. So help me out with that. Share the channel with your friends. Just help me get this up to at least 20,000 in the next couple of months. And thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.